The alarm buzzed before sunrise, but he was already awake, staring at the ceiling and rehearsing answers in his head. Today was supposed to be the day everything changed. He slipped on his only suit, pressed neatly but showing its age, and knotted his tie with a trembling hand. In the kitchen, the scent of toast filled the air as his little girl swung her legs from a chair, asking if he would get the big job today. He smiled, not wanting her to see the nerves underneath, and tucked a stray curl behind her ear. For months, he had juggled shifts, late nights, and odd jobs, but none of them had offered stability. This interview was different. It was the opportunity that could bring security, a steady paycheck, and maybe even a future where his daughter didn't have to see him worry about bills. He practiced one last time in the mirror, confident but humble, professional yet honest. His reflection showed a man determined but weathered, carrying both hope and exhaustion in equal measure. With a deep breath, he grabbed his briefcase and kissed his daughter's forehead. "Be good for the neighbor until I'm back," he whispered, trying to hide the weight of what was at stake. As he stepped outside into the crisp morning air, he felt the enormity of the day pressing on his shoulders, but also the flicker of a dream that maybe, just maybe, today was the beginning of something better. The busier the streets became, the faster his heart raced. Every step toward the building downtown felt like stepping closer to a life he had been chasing for years. He checked the time, he was cutting it close, but still on track. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a car pulled over on the shoulder, hazard lights blinking. A woman stood beside it, struggling with the hood, her face a picture of frustration and worry. For a moment, he froze. His instincts told him to keep going, he couldn't afford to be late, not today. But then he thought of his daughter, of the values he hoped she would grow up to believe in. Kindness. Compassion. Doing what's right even when it costs you. He slowed, then turned, jogging toward the woman. "Need a hand?" he asked, already setting his briefcase down. She hesitated, then nodded gratefully. Minutes turned into half an hour as he worked, grease staining his cuffs, sweat dampening his shirt. The woman apologized repeatedly, but he just smiled and kept at it, finally coaxing the stubborn engine back to life. She thanked him, eyes shining with relief, but by then he knew. His phone screen confirmed it, the interview time had slipped past. A pang of dread hit his chest, but he brushed it aside, forcing a small smile. "Just glad you're safe," he said, picking up his briefcase once more. He walked away, not realizing that in helping a stranger, he had just changed his life forever. By the time he reached the towering glass building, his lungs burned from rushing. He pushed through the revolving doors, tie loosened, briefcase clutched tightly in his hand. The lobby gleamed with polished marble floors and sharp suits hurrying past, but all he could see was the reception desk. "I'm here for the interview," he managed, breathless. The receptionist glanced at the clock, then back at him with sympathetic eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said gently, "the panel just wrapped up." Her words struck like a blow. He stood there, heart pounding, trying to steady himself, as if lingering might change her answer. For weeks, he had dreamed of this moment, replaying it in his head, shaking hands, answering questions, maybe walking out with a chance to provide for his daughter. Now, the image crumbled in silence. Around him, the building buzzed with success and opportunity, yet he felt invisible, just another face who had arrived too late. The receptionist offered a polite smile, but he could only nod in return, too drained to explain why he hadn't made it on time. Outside, the sun was high, but his shadow felt long. He walked slowly, the weight of disappointment pressing heavier than the briefcase at his side. Every step was filled with the sting of what-ifs. Still, beneath the ache, a quiet conviction lingered. He had missed his chance, yes, but when that woman had needed help, he hadn't turned away. And somewhere deep inside, that felt like the truer victory. 3 days later, when his phone rang with an unfamiliar number, he almost ignored it. Bill collectors often called around this time. But something nudged him to answer. "Hello?" he said, his voice cautious. On the other end came a warm, steady tone. "Is this Mr. Carter?" "This is Evelyn Hart. You helped me with my car the other morning." He froze, memories flashing back, the stalled engine, the grease on his cuffs, the missed interview. He opened his mouth to respond, but she continued, her words unfolding like a door swinging wide. "I never properly thanked you. You gave up your time, your chance, to help me when you had nothing to gain. That kind of character is rare." He swallowed hard, unsure where this was going. Then she added the words that left him speechless, "I'm the CEO of the company you were supposed to interview with." Silence stretched between them, his mind racing to catch up. She had been the stranger on the roadside. The same woman whose gratitude he had brushed off was the very person with the power to change his future. "I'd like to meet again," she said. "Not for an interview, but for an opportunity. We need people like you, people who lead with integrity." His throat tightened, and he managed a whisper of thanks. As he hung up, tears blurred his vision. For the first time in years, the weight of disappointment lifted, replaced by the dizzying realization that kindness had opened a door he thought had slammed shut. That evening, he walked through the front door with an expression his daughter hadn't seen in a long time. Pure, unguarded joy. She ran into his arms, giggling as he lifted her high into the air. "Did you get the job, Daddy?" she asked, eyes wide with hope. He pressed his forehead to hers, his voice breaking as he whispered, "Yes, sweetheart. Better than I ever imagined." Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes, not from exhaustion this time, but from relief, gratitude, and the overwhelming sense that the world had quietly rewarded the choice he'd made. He thought back to that morning, the missed chance, the ache of walking away, the fear that he had failed. Yet here he was, holding proof that doing the right thing, even when it cost him everything, had led him exactly where he needed to be. Somewhere inside, he realized, this wasn't just about a job. It was about the lesson he would one day pass on to his little girl, that kindness is never wasted, that integrity matters more than ambition, and that sometimes the smallest act of humanity can change a life in ways we can't yet see. As the two of them sat down to dinner, laughter spilling through the tiny apartment, he felt something stir deep within him, a quiet certainty. The world could be unpredictable, unfair even, but it could also be astonishingly generous. And in that moment, he knew, the path of compassion had led him home.